Tonight on the show, we're coming back to hot dogs with sandwiches because we know at least one person believes it, and I don't know why I can not agree with her. Also, we're going to be talking about a piece of legislation that was shot down that would have skimmed tips from people in restaurants or people who work in restaurants, and I'm so glad again that Trump did something right for once. And finally, we're going to talk about the designers of a water slide that decapitated a boy who, quote, had no technical qualifications, and how that's okay and not okay. All that and a whole lot more on Content Penny the Show.
Woo! Woo! That never gets old to me.
No, of course not.
Woo!
It's a Will Smith evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Travis.
I am Dylan.
Content Pending is the name of this podcast you're listening to now, and it's a podcast that takes place at Don's Depot in Austin, Texas. One of the best bars in the entire fucking world.
Definitely the best podcast that happens in the best bar.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a combo. I mean, you can conflate those very, very easily because it is true.
It's simply the best.
Simply the best. It will do. We like to talk about the things that have happened over the week and have some drinks while we do it. Sometimes talk to interesting people, or if anything else, just talk to each other. So I'll say, let's start off with you, Dylan. What's been up?
Yeah, me.
Yeah, you.
Literally.
Yeah, you. That's right. You have been quite up. So
I have had the worst insomnia in the history of insomnia.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
In fact, I think I started a fight club. I'm not even sure.
So you do have some fugue states in there somewhere.
There are more than 0 times that I have blank things. The biggest. Okay, so I've had insomnia. I'm going about 6 weeks now of like extreme insomnia.
Sheesh.
Now, it's not that I don't sleep. I do, but it's like I'll be awake for about 25 or 30 hours, and then I'll crash for like 12.
Right.
And unfortunately, when I crash, because I'm more of a night person anyway, I'm crashing at like 6, 7, 8 in the morning.
Right.
Which means I sleep till 5 o'clock at night. So I miss work because I can't function because I've been awake for 30 hours. That's been going on for about 6 weeks now. It's great. It's glorious. But in the past couple weeks, it's gotten mildly better.
Sure.
For example, I remember having a dream last night.
Oh, good.
That means I had REM sleep.
Yeah, you finally got REM sleep. Yeah.
So that's a step in the right direction.
Cool.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll remember something that happened yesterday.
Well, the weird thing was, I was remembering the dream I had was I was dreaming about dreaming.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, I was incepting myself.
I hate those dreams. I bring that topic up about like having a dream where I'm dreaming, or like or having a dream that I'm trying to fall asleep, and that often like people there's a lot of skepticism against that. It's like, no, you just weren't sleeping. It was like, no, because there was dumb stuff happening in it.
Oh no,
like I'm trying to sleep and I know that I'm not wide awake because there's still like I don't know why Benjamin Franklin's in my bedroom. That's a thing, but it's like the whole time I'm not just hallucinating that there's another person in the bedroom.
No. In fact, the dream I had.
And Ben, if you're listening, you're always welcome in my bedroom. Just saying.
No, the dream I had.
Founding daddy, if you know what I mean.
The dream I had that I remember from last night or this morning.
Spectacles, tectacles.
Not sure what time of day it was, but in the dream, I woke up from a dream in which I had been eating cookies. And in the dream, I was going, "Oh my god, I just remembered eating cookies." And I thought I was awake in that dream till I actually woke up and said, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
In self-inception.
Did you wake up and eat cookies, or did you like see through it?
Well, when I finally actually woke up for real, it was like, "Oh shit! I've let the dogs out. Fuck, I have to get out of bed."
No, well, that story had nothing that I wanted.
Yeah,
except for cookies.
No cookies.
See? Yeah. You fucking tease. I did look it up. Randy Gardner, born August 7th of 1949, is the holder of the scientifically documented record for the
guy like never slept at all.
Longest a human has intentionally gone without sleep, without any stimulants. 1964, Gardner, a high school student in San Diego, stayed awake for 264 hours straight, 11 days and 25 minutes.
Yeah, that's not fun.
You'll go nuts.
Oh no, I've come close a couple times already.
Yeah.
No, you mentioned like the idea of like fugue states or whatever. Yeah, there've been more than a few days in the past couple of weeks where like I get in a car. I'm like, I know I should not be driving right now, but I have to go someplace to get food.
Sure.
But I shouldn't be
time travel there or whatever. Yeah.
Well, it's a combination of things depending on how tired or whatever I am. Where you're functioning solely on adrenaline and you feel the adrenaline. Like just, I know the only reason I'm here right now is because I'm just forcing myself to be here right now, and you feel it. And there's other times you're like, complete zombie. Like, why is the world happening right now? I don't care. Get out of my way. Give me money. Give me food.
That sucks, man. I'm sorry.
It's been interesting. But no, so the past this past week,
I don't know why that tickled me so much. The scientific. I've been exhausted for like a billion years, and it's been interesting.
It has been. I'm weird enough to recognize when things are weird, and I want to understand the same way you are. Like, you want to understand what's happening, whether it's to you or somebody else. If it's a peculiar thing, like I've had insomnia all my life, but usually it'd be like a day or two at a time, never for anything this crazy. So this is new. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's causing it, what's going on. Why the biggest thing is like, so this past week is like, all right, it's been like 6 weeks now. It's time to get some help because this is going on too long.
That was my follow-up question.
However, I only fear one drug on this planet. 2 drugs on this planet. Heroin. I'm not going to do that because I don't like needles. And Ambien.
Those are both very scary.
Ambien is the one drug I will not try.
What? Are you kidding me? Oh my God, Ambien's wonderful.
Because I've seen firsthand, I dated a girl years and years ago who had sleep problems, and she took Ambien.
Yeah.
And literally, I couldn't tell that she was sleepwalking.
Oh, well, okay. Okay. Okay.
It was like, so for one classic example, we were living together. This is, I don't know, a bazillion years ago. We lived together, and I would get home a couple hours before she did. She came home like 8 o'clock or something, and I thought she was just kind of tired from a long day at work. She's like, I'm gonna go to the store. I'm like, okay, cool. She was gone for like 3 hours. She comes back and she has like $1,000 in groceries, exaggerating, but she has like shitloads of groceries. And then she falls asleep on the couch, like literally eating it with a donut in her mouth. She falls asleep.
Okay.
Wakes up like 4 hours later. And, maybe I gotten up and said, "Where are you? Why are you in bed?" Kind of thing. Right. I find her on the couch with a donut in her mouth, and she's like, "What?" I'm like, "What happened? You fell asleep eating?" I'm like, "I don't like donuts." Like, it's like, you went to the store and just bought, and she's like, "I didn't go to the store." I'm like, "Yes, you did. You were gone for 3 hours."
This is very interesting.
And I had to show her, like, look, all the food you bought is still on the counter in bags. Like, you were gone. And she's like, I took an Ambien. She had no idea she'd done any of that.
Wow.
So for me, knowing how bad of habits I currently already have, especially drinking and driving, I don't want to have that extra factor in there where I don't know that I'm doing it consciously.
Well, and I never actually looked at this before because I had no idea that sleep eating is a side effect of Ambien. I had no idea.
Sleep eating, sleepwalking, sleep gambling, and sleep fucking.
Huh.
Yeah, so I know she never gambled, but I'm pretty sure I may have technically raped her a few times because she wasn't consenting to having sex with me.
Oh, Jesus Christ, yeah.
I was telling some friends at work that today, not today, the day I was there talking about the story.
Yeah.
And one of my coworkers was like, yeah, I was on Ambien for 3 years. And she would tell me stories like, yeah, I was on Ambien for 3 years, and I would do stuff. I would come home, and I would wake up the next morning, and there's like a basket of like she's kind of arts and craftsy. So she built something out of wood and jigsaws, and she overnight made this thing.
Yeah.
And her boyfriend at the time was like, "Hey, you made that." Well, she came downstairs. She's like, "Honey, did you buy that? That's great." She's like, "No, you made that last night." She's like, "What?" Like, "Yeah, you were operating power tools at 3 a.m. She's like, "No, I wasn't." Like, "Yeah, you were."
Holy shit!
You built that last night.
That's bazonkers. I literally had no fucking clue.
Yeah, and so it's the one drug I fear. So,
but like I'm with Patton Oswalt here. Like, it's one of the best feelings in the world.
Got some Ambien waiting back in the room.
Oh, that's a great bit. Yeah.
That's the one drug I could see becoming very addicted to.
We'll go
be really careful. Ambien is amazing because it puts you to sleep, which is fine. But the amazing thing about Ambien is that half hour before you go to sleep. If anyone's ever taken it, you know that as you're falling asleep, I don't know what it is in that drug. It feels like you're about to get the most glorious flu that anyone's ever gotten.
Yeah.
Not in a gross, sick way. That kind of flu that comes from the exhaustion that is brought on by crushing all your enemies, achieving all your goals, setting the world right, knowing your legacy is secure. You're like, I can just lay in this bed and just fade. Oh, this is awesome! I won.
That's how every time that's what it feels like to me. I mean, you can take little pieces of it, little chunks.
Oh no! Again, I'm only talking from having seen the side effects.
Of course, yeah.
I'm sure that my girlfriend at the time and my coworker at work both felt that glorious "I won the world" thing, but then they had an entire life outside of that they didn't know they were doing.
Sure.
And I don't want to do that.
Right.
Again,
right.
It's for everyone else's benefit more than it is for mine.
I mean, how much damage are they taking though? Because I don't know. I'm looking into this because I'm really, really curious about what because I literally had no idea sleep gambling was one of the side effects.
Gambling addiction is one of the side effects of Ambien.
Wow. Yeah, this is an article on health.com called Ambien Sleepwalking Turned Me into a Midnight Binge Eater.
Yeah.
Which is just funny that it can actually exist beyond. I mean, sorry for your loss or whatever, but, man, Ambien.
Oh, no, I think my biggest fear is that I don't mind driving fast.
Yes.
And I make those choices consciously.
Yes.
I don't want to make those choices unconsciously.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Because someone's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And it will probably be me as well as some other small children.
It's going to be me. Cool. Well, because my follow-up question was going to be I probably already knew the answer. I was going to say, well, what did your doctor say?
Yeah, but
because I'm assuming that you didn't talk to a doctor yet.
My plan for this upcoming week is
got it. Nailed it.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some melatonin, and I'm maybe just Benadryl my ass out. But I'm gonna start I'm going to get on a schedule of I'm just going to try to more naturally drug myself up without doing Ambien for a couple of days and see how that.
Sure.
If I can reset some stuff.
Yeah, get it back to a schedule. Yeah. Well, I hope so. Because dreams are my favorite thing in the whole world.
And I have some deadlines at work, so hopefully just knowing I have to do stuff will help my brain kind of go, you have to work and do stuff.
Right.
But yeah, it's no fun, man. When you're lying awake and you literally can't turn your brain off. Mm-hmm. One of the crowning achievements of my insomnia is I wrote, directed, produced, and composed every single shot of a documentary about the college dorm I used to live in because I had time.
Sure.
And it was on my brain that day.
Yeah.
And I really filmed the entire thing in my head. I know where I put. I'm going to need a dolly for here, a tracking shot. We do this. I did 9 months of pre-production on a movie in my head in 2 hours.
Do you know if these people who, because you bring up an interesting point, time is the biggest issue. I saw some meme. It was God talking to the first man and hey, so I've invented sleep. And it's okay, so what's sleep? It's well, sleep is going to be 1/3 of your life for the rest of your life.
I wish it were more.
Yeah, right. But it's you lose so much of your just general time just sleeping. What if you can actually weaponize that version of whatever is causing that Ambien and focus it directly on being able to produce and star and shoot a documentary about a dorm, for example.
I think that's called Adderall.
Only while you're asleep, though.
Oh,
I mean, what if you can fine tune it to
we just made a new drug.
Yeah, if we
combine Adderall and Ambien.
If we can't clone people yet, we can't do jujitsu or whatever to clone or
multiplicity, sir.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's what we need. But until
more
then,
Michael Keaton's.
Until then, we just have Michael Anthony Halls or whatever. Anthony Michael Hall, excuse me.
No, that was good.
Yeah,
that was good.
But
Anthony Michael Keaton.
If we can figure out a way we can make Ambien literally force us to do these things. I mean, because maybe the heart really wants to be a gambler, or binge eat, that's just you're multiplying your time. It's so efficient.
Well, I read some article. I know we're close to the end of the time, but I read an article about I can't think of the name. There's a name for this. It's a type of sleep schedule where you
Ubermensch.
No, that's not what that means in Hebrew.
It's Uberman. It's they said that fucking what was it called? It's Uberman, Superman. It's the concept of sleeping for only 20 minutes every hour or something.
You get 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
But you get 20 minutes of nap time a couple times a day.
Right. You're forcing yourself that every time you close your eyes, you go immediately into REM sleep and you come back ready to go, whatever.
So
it's horseshit.
In the course of all this stuff, I'm looking at how my schedule's been fucked up, and I saw that article. I'm like, I could try that, except my brain won't stop thinking about how that might work.
Right.
So 30 hours later,
We can round this out this segment, but interesting thing, and if you want to look into this, if you're curious about the Superman or Uberman thing, I'll also add some links or whatever. But a very curious side effect for people who have tried this is grapefruit. They need more grapefruit. Just like pregnant women need or have these certain kinds of thirst or hungers for certain things, grapefruit was the number one thing that people really, really needed because it was a nutrient they weren't getting at sleep. Who knows? Anyway.
That is very odd.
It's very odd. So let's take our first break and we'll come back.
Yeah.
With Contemplating. Well, I appreciate Ruth Bader Ginsberg's take on this, but let's... Welcome back to the show, everybody. Segment 2 of Contemplating the Show. I'm still Travis.
I'm still Dylan. I'm still not sleeping.
I'm still a podcast. Talk about things that happened over the week. So I did see, so we have talked multiple times on this show and previous shows, on this podcast and previous podcasts about the concept of if hot dogs are sandwiches. I'm so glad, honestly, that you and I basically agree on most things, if not everything. Because I really just don't want to have that many arguments. I mean, we do wind up getting a little bubbled, echo chambers or whatever.
Yeah, but on this issue,
it just seems very clear that hot dogs are not sandwiches. They're just not sandwiches. And interestingly enough, I'm not sure why exactly Stephen Colbert asked the RBG.
I do,
but Ruth Bader Ginsberg was on an episode of the Colbert Tonight Show,
The Late Show,
The Late Show, yeah. And finally had a controversial ruling on whether or not hot dogs were sandwiches. But it was presented in this one way. He said, what do you think are hot dogs or sandwiches? And she asked, basically without any delay, as far as I understand, you tell me what a sandwich is, and I'll tell you if a hot dog is a sandwich. Already we have a problem, but she's going the right way because she's looking for precedent.
Yeah.
Like a good Supreme fucking Court judge should, Now, he defined a sandwich as 2 pieces of bread with almost any type of filling in between as long as it's not more bread, which is also inaccurate because there was, and I actually saw this earlier, that it was a product that was sold, I think it was in London, that was a bread sandwich, which was a piece of bread in between 2 pieces of bread because they believed that invalids liked that kind of food. And it was like presented as you just add some pepper to it and you can just eat all the bread you want.
Well, that and a Big Mac and a Whopper both have a third layer of bread.
Yeah, those are what is a club sandwich, right? Basically, the Big Mac is a club burger or whatever.
Oh yeah, a club sandwich.
Yeah. And if you listened to the show already, or if you know anything about what we talk about, if you want to talk about the sandwich thing, 802-359-7468. If you have an actual argument on why a hot dog should be a sandwich, that does include the following concepts. The last concept, that the food in a hot dog is faced vertically, not horizontal to the plate. That is the final thing. That's the common denominator.
So perpendicular.
Yes.
Not parallel.
Not parallel. That's the most important part. Horizontal orientation is required for a sandwich. So
honestly, I think that might be the single thing that defines a hot dog that makes it differently.
A lobster roll is technically closer to a hot dog than a sandwich.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, because
the meat is served vertically. Yeah.
If you can't understand this concept, think about it like this. If you see a Subway sandwich or if you see a hoagie or whatever, usually they're placed in such a position that the food is like, again, parallel with the plate. Hot dogs are never shaped that way. Now, I like John Hodgman's idea, too, the idea that you never really see a hot dog cut in half. It's not necessary for trying to find out what exactly makes a sandwich, but I don't know. It just seems so fucking clear. I appreciate. It sounds so fucking condescending to be like, well, I appreciate Ruth Bader Ginsberg's take on this, but the truth of the matter is, I think if she was given the actual correct definition or the concept of it, whatever, she'd be on our page. So, RBG, if you're listening, which I know you are, you can be on the show anytime you like.
Oh, yeah, I would love to have her on the show.
I mean, might as well.
Yeah.
There's 4 pieces. Exterior pieces to a sandwich. Exterior pieces, carb-based, horizontal orientation, and portable. That is the most simple definition of what a sandwich is, and hot dogs do not get that third piece, horizontal orientation.
If I'm not mistaken, I think in that bit that Colbert did, they may have mentioned is the bread one piece that's cut or not.
She asked that question,
yeah,
but I think cutting the bread winds up distracting us from the greater point. I mean, it's like... that's the government trying to get at us, man.
You can go to Subway, and the Subway sandwich is going to be split down the middle. They don't cut it all the way.
Yeah, but it's set and placed so when you set it on the flat part,
It's still going to be on the bottom.
sets the orientation of the food inside the carrier, the bread, is going to be facing you. So Subway sandwich. There are hot dog sandwiches. A hot dog sandwich is a bunch of cut up hot dogs that are in 2 pieces of bread and they're horizontally orientation. Yeah.
Well, I think I might be able to come up with a couple of maybe exceptions to the rule, but there are exceptions to rules of what are sandwiches, not are they hot dogs.
Right.
I think that's the key thing. A hot dog is always going to be a hot dog.
Well, the hot dog has its own definition for sure.
Yeah.
Designation.
No, as far as
culinary
so it's
purposes or whatever.
like I can go to Subway. I can get a Subway sandwich.
Right.
I can say, give me the foot long, but don't cut it. It'll be served in a piece of bread that's contiguous, but it has a split top. The meatballs are meat on top vertically.
Yeah, they're going to be oriented vertically for presentation's sake. But if you were look for example, if you go online and look for a meatball sandwich,
well, the point I'm making that you can make a meatball sub that could be served in those conditions. It's still not a hot dog.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Now that's going the other way.
No, I'm saying the hot dog can never be confused.
Is a sandwich a hot dog is never going to be true.
A hot dog can never be confused with a meatball sub.
Right.
Like because you can never serve a hot dog sideways. Yeah, you can't do the opposite. Yeah. You can invert a sandwich. You can even have an open-faced sandwich.
Yeah, you could deconstruct a sandwich.
But
can do whatever you
can't
like.
do it with a hot dog. A hot dog is only a hot dog because a hot dog is a hot dog.
And again, if you can't
fight us,
if you can't imagine this exactly, then just think about the fact that most times, almost 100% of the times, you think of a hot dog, you're thinking of it laced on its spine.
Mm-hmm.
You don't place sandwiches on their spines. Even Subway sandwiches that have a flap and it's still connected, or any other kind of Subway or Hoagie or Hero. Those are all they're all placed.
My point on that is
bottom.
You could do that.
You
with
could
a
do
sub.
that, but it's irregular,
but
unique.
But with the hot dog, you can never do that. Is my point.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. That's why.
Yes.
That's why. Fight us 802-359-74688 802-359-SHOT. That literally you can text,
never gets old.
Text or call. Leave a voicemail and we'll talk about it. But consider this. Go and look for pictures of whatever sandwich you're going to try to control it. You can compare it to. Excuse me. And look at the difference between what a hot dog and
I like that little Freudian slip there. I'm going to control this goddamn
to control the sandwich. Yeah. I mean, just looking at Google search, hot dog. I mean, there's a whole stack of them all on their spines. So, sorry guys.
And how about this? How about this?
Oh yeah.
There is no such thing as a sandwich toaster.
Yeah, why not?
Because hot dogs are served vertically.
Well, sure.
And you put the thing vertically. You put the
you're talking about the actual thing where you can the hot dog
yeah.
toaster, of course. Yeah.
You can't do it with the sandwich.
Yeah, the best thing you'll get from a hot dog toaster is just making a panini.
No, but the point being,
that's a
a
panini
hot dog
press,
has its own device to toast it.
Yep.
A sandwich you can't just put like roast beef and bread into a toaster.
No.
You can with a hot dog.
Yeah.
Ergo, not a sandwich.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Sorry, guys.
I'm just saying that. I'm pretty proud of that one, actually.
And again, of course, the designations of these things.
You can't go to Sky Mall and get a sandwich toaster.
Right. Designations of these things are important, though, because you have to think about, why. Hot dog inside a burger. Okay, well, that's a burger sandwich.
A mashup, yeah.
It's a mashup, whatever. I mean, look at all these different versions. Of course, and you can make hot dog sandwiches, and a hot dog sandwich is a bunch of hot dogs between 2 pieces of bread. That's a hot dog sandwich that literally exists. Whatever. Talk about this to death, but it's very important. So anyway, basically what I'm trying to say is, fight me, Ruth Bader Ginsberg.
Hey, she works out every day. So.
Does she?
Yeah, that was a whole bit. Colbert was interviewing her while she was working out in the gym and talking about.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, and Al bench pressed him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, no, I wouldn't necessarily say that Stephen Colbert is the strongest guy. I mean, he's got the brain. I don't see. I mean, he probably runs.
Actually, Colbert does have excellent hamstring and glute strength. He has leg wrestled many people on air.
Has he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Stephen Colbert, the character, has.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, that makes sense then.
But yeah, a lot of leg wrestling.
Yeah, 2 pieces of bread. She said, does that include a roll that's cut open but not completely?
See, she's a smart cookie.
Yeah.
That's why she's on the Supreme Court.
Yeah. It's important. Thank
Actually,
God.
I love that being the measure of are you a capable justice?
Right.
Can you define the rule of law if you can define hot dog or sandwich?
Right. Given the premise, you know?
I think it's one of the most interesting debates you can actually pose for somebody. I mean, yeah. I'm just saying, if you're going to be a judge, know the answer.
Yeah, or know anything about being a judge, too, is important. But that at
In
least...
Texas, you don't have to.
That's fun.
No, you don't know that?
No.
Yeah, in Texas, you don't have to actually have any knowledge of the law to become a judge.
Really?
You just have to be elected.
Really?
Yeah.
In Kansas, you can make an entire water park without knowing anything about it.
Good
Segue. One of the other topics this week was this concept. Well, yeah. You know about this? Joe? Designers of a water slide that decapitated a boy. So in Kansas, they don't have any regulations over who can build water parks.
Anything.
And we can get into the politics of it if we want to. We probably would.
Another time.
We only have 5 minutes. Another time. But Schlitterbahn, there's a Schlitterbahn water park in Kansas, which I'm really super surprised at because I thought Schlitterbahn was a Texas thing only.
I think it's a franchise.
Is it? Yeah, I mean, it must be a franchise. But Kansas City, following the death of Caleb Schwab on the Verrückt water slide in August 2016, criminal charges have been brought against the owners of Schlitterbahn. This Schlitterbahn, whatever. The idea was, and this is really great, that they made this incredibly huge water slide that essentially had this bump on it with a cage. They were thinking about people not flying off the slide, which is incredible, but with a cage thing that people were bumping and getting concussions into. Like they were jumping off this little bump thing and smashing into this thing and going all the way down and having a horrible time. I think it was like 11 or 12 different fucking people who were having this fucking problem. And this latest one, a child literally bumped so hard on his neck that he lost his fucking head.
Yeah.
It's let's see how big the actual thing was. I mean, it's huge. But the funny part is they produced the prototype for the Verrückt 36 days after first even devising the ride.
And really, the guy had no engineering experience.
An amusement park design expert later told prosecutors that the idea of the slide would have taken 4 people 3 to 6 months.
And this one guy did it in 36 days.
36 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tyler Miles, who's the owner of the park, faces involuntary manslaughter charges. And I don't mean to laugh at this because it's crazy disgusting that a kid lost his fucking head.
Of course.
But I can't even imagine how you could fuck that up so much.
Here's what I'm thinking about that. So a long time ago, when I was in my, forget the age, just focus on the year.
Okay.
1986. Thank you.
Why didn't I use that when I was the Inception joke earlier? God damn it.
I was at Epcot.
Okay.
And Epcot had a video game that you could design your own roller coaster.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
And it was free, and it had this like Bucky the squirrel because he's going to woodchuck some wood to make the roller coaster for you. Yeah. And it was actually for the time fantastic. So you pick I want a loop to loop. I want this or this. We'll put the pieces together, and it would say, "No, that won't work. It'll kill somebody." I'm paraphrasing.
Sure.
But it would say, "You can't do that. That doesn't work."
So that software was smarter than.
That was 86.
Yeah.
that was free software I could play with as a kid at Disneyland.
Yeah.
Apparently, this guy didn't have that.
There was. It reminded me of the Euthanasia Coaster, which is a real thing. It was designed as a concept, scale model only created, not actually meant to be used. The idea was it was a very, very tall coaster ride with a series of, it was 7 or 8 loops. Each loop gets sequentially smaller. And the idea was that the G's necessary, once you get all the way to the top, all the way back, and start going through the circles, would literally kill anybody. Created in 2010.
You just hit enough G's and just, okay. Gotcha.
Designed by,
nice.
I'm never going to be able to actually say his first name correctly. But
Schlitterbahn.
PhD candidate at the Royal College of Art in London.
Yeah.
But this was a designer who spent, this is probably part of his PhD thesis.
His thesis was to make a ride that kills somebody.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in Kansas. 36 days.
In Kansas today, 36 days. Can you imagine? Nuts. Absolutely nuts.
Oh, man.
So only to
America.
bring the politics for a second, the concept here is that Kansas is one of the few states that is mostly libertarian.
Yeah.
They're trying to stay away from regulations, and the benefit is, I mean, this happened in 2016. This kid lost his life in 2016.
Yeah.
It only came back into life because
The sentencing or whatever.
the sentencing, and also they're finally having a conversation about, finally after 2 years, having a conversation about putting in regulation that says that you just can't do that at water parks or amusement parks. Of course, followed by the Schwab's Scott Schwab, who is the state representative, who is the father of the kid who died. You know.
So it took the guy getting into state
Yep.
Congress or Senate, whatever, before they actually made any legislation.
Before they made any legislation, and that's an important an important part.
That's actually oddly very libertarian.
Yes, and then that's a key. Again, politics. 802-359-7468. If you want to fucking argue about it, but it's a key. It's a lot like Romney. You know, when Romney got in trouble for leaving his dog on top of his
Strapped to the
car,
roof, yeah.
and dog had lots of problems with that because he never really considered it because he's probably never been strapped to a fucking roof and driven on a road trip to Wally World or whatever. The argument there would be, if you've never taken public transportation, you probably don't think it's important. If you never had a child die because of an amusement park, you probably won't care much about regulations.
Yeah.
There's
a weird, beautiful irony to that, actually.
Yeah.
That he didn't care until it happened to him, then he went to Congress and made something happen.
Yeah. It's the reason why they're trying to keep transgenders out of bathrooms, too, because most of those people who vote for those things are also caught for gay affairs. Anyway, let's take a break and we'll come back and talk a little bit more about it. This is stupid, but oh, you're cute, you know?
Yeah.
Welcome back to the show, buddy.
Yeah.
Segment 3, recording?
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going? Still Travis.
I'm still Dylan.
Still hanging out at Don's Depot in Austin, Texas. Still chilling, man. We've already talked about a lot of things. Flint, Michigan, there's so much lead in children's blood. There's a state of emergency. That's fun.
Only took 2.5 years.
I mean, how long has it been? Has it been 2.5 years?
Oh, it's 2.5 years. Sorry, maybe my math is wrong. 2 years. It was the Republican thing, like in March 2016, I guess, when that was a talking point.
Right.
During the primaries.
Right.
So it's been a lot longer since the lead's been in the damn water.
Yeah.
But yeah.
God, it's so ugly. It's still a thing. But anyway, hey, whatever.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me get my hose. Hold on.
I guess it was last year, a year and a half ago, that the concept came, the legislation that came through that was going to allow restaurants, any restaurant in the United States, on federal level, whatever, to be able to take tips from any employee not making at least $7.50 an hour with their tips and their $2.13 or whatever the actual thing is, because $7.50 is the federal minimum wage. And somehow, some way, I mean, this is completely an accident, but during the budget bill that was passed, Congress actually banned restaurants from being able to do it. Like, got rid of it entirely, which is fucking wonderful, because it's such a strange and archaic thing, and it also makes people not want to work if they don't get paid for it.
So the initial thing was you're going to put money into a pool and it'll be somehow split up.
It would come back to the restaurants, and the restaurants would then put it on their wages. As long as they made $7.50, and that's the thing. So,
okay.
So the first thing was regulation being bonkers, and the second thing is actually trying to enforce it. Enforcing it would be really, really difficult.
So
there are some companies, there are some restaurants, especially in Austin, Texas, that just take Kirby Lane, for example, a famous chain here in Austin. Mm-hmm. They take all of your tips and they put those tips on your paychecks. You can steal some tips and keep them in your pockets or whatever, because everyone can do that at any time.
But that was basically the intent. Instead of pooling tips in a traditional sense, and you get paid out in cash
right
at the end of the night.
Right.
This was going to be forcing you as a tip-based worker
right.
to take your tips, pool them, give them to the business, then the business would decide.
It wouldn't be pooled.
Give you back your money.
It would be pooled. It'd be individuals. So so how it works in a lot of restaurants is
that's even more complicated.
How it works in a lot of restaurants is very simple. Yeah, it's too complicated.
Okay.
How it works in restaurants is pretty simple in the sense if you work and you get tips, you get paid usually about $2.13 an hour, and that changes depending on the state or the city or the restaurant. Or feels like whatever. You get paid $2.13 an hour, and you make a certain amount of tips. At the end of the night, you have to give the restaurant back all of the money that the people have given you for their food.
Yeah.
You get to keep everything on top of that. Everything past that. So, you give them exactly the $200 that the customers have come and whatever eat, and you get to keep everything on top after that, whatever. And then you get the $213 an hour, and the $213 is really just to pay the taxes.
Yeah.
It's like the easiest thing. And the assumption is that the $213 is only there to bump up at least that people are making another $530 or whatever to make the federal minimum wage. However, the one thing that people miss is that if you work overtime or if you are making less tips, you still have to meet what minimum wage says. Mm-hmm. So if you're doing overtime for $7.50 is like what $12 something dollars or whatever. Yeah. If on that last shift you're not making enough to be able to handle that $12, the restaurant has to pay it. The restaurant has to pay to make sure that you're making minimum wage. But there's so many problems with enforcing just that alone that they just don't. And a lot of people just feel like maybe they don't deserve it, or the validation, or like tips, or whatever. They just don't do it. Restaurants won't do it. Most often than not, the employees don't do it. So it just is fucked up.
Well, we've heard from people we know in the business, like the restaurants themselves will just not mark you something overtime that week.
Right.
Because it's easier for them just to give you an extra $20.
Right.
Than actually do paperwork.
So the version of this from places like Kirby Lane was to take 100% of the tips from each person. So basically what you say is like at the end of the night, you owe $200, you have $300 somehow. Great fucking night. You give that $300 straight to the manager. And it's much easier in credit card tips because you just give them all the slips or whatever, and they batch them out for you, and then they say you have an extra $100 that goes on and then is taxed on your paycheck. And that's fine once you get used to it. It was really, really hard for people who were working in that in the industry immediately or initially because, well, you go home with tips and you know that you can spend those tips. There's a validation of those tips too, whatever.
But in that case...
You have to wait 2 weeks then to get your paycheck.
But in that case, they're also taking the taxes out, which a lot of these guys don't pay.
Right. Which, is a thing, I'm not going to disparage anyone for doing that exactly. I mean, I think everyone should pay their taxes, whatever. 802-359-7468. But at the same time, I do believe that, that there's some of that. It's so, I don't know, it's minuscule.
Yeah.
But this idea was to do that for everybody. And then make sure they made the $750, and then they get everything over the $750.
Okay.
If they made less than $750 with their tips involved, then they just kept that and used that to then pay the employee the money that they, the $750. So instead of so if they hit $550 an average, some fucking how only making like $1 or $2 an hour or something, then they would say, all right, we'll keep that, and then they're only going to pay an additional $1 or $2 because they already have that extra. It's weird. It was this weird fucking thing, and as far as I know, no one wanted it. That's a crazy thing because I can't find anyone who was like, no, this is a really good idea.
It sounds very complex.
The National Restaurant Association said it never asked for employers to allowed to keep tips in the first place. Senior VP of the trade group argued that most employers wouldn't skim tips even if they were allowed to. A decision by a restaurant to retain some or all of the customers' tips rather than distributing them to the hour staff was unpopular with employees and guests alike and would severely damage the public's perception of the restaurant. There was no reason for anyone to do it exactly, except for just taxes.
Wow.
So, I mean, it passed. It went through. I as far as I can understand, I don't really see anyone who argued against it. I think it was mostly like a whatever. 218,000. Labor Department received more than 218,000 negative comments in the proposal. It was just wildly unpopular. But hey, sometimes you just gotta get your chops in. Maybe it was some senator or some newbie or whatever was like, "Hey, I got my first bill," and everyone's like, "This is stupid," but oh, you're cute, and let it fail later and just make everyone fucking nervous.
So now in the recent budget, that was killed.
It's just all normal now. It's back to normal. And there's no concern for it. People are just going to do exactly what they do, and then leave it up to the actual companies and restaurants or whatever.
In my opinion, the idea
that's the best thing.
In my opinion, the idea of tip-based employment is stupid.
Oh yeah, of course.
You should pay people a wage, and then pay people a wage.
Well,
if you want to tip extra, no. Let me back up. I'm in favor of certain industries deserve extra compensation for what they do.
Yes.
But if you're a waitress or a bartender, if you do a great job, in a very American fashion, believe you should get a little extra or something for that.
Yeah, of course.
That's a very American thing, though.
Yeah,
to tip.
And we follow the rules. Just for anyone who's listening to this, we follow the rules. I agree with you on this concept. Living wage should be the focus instead of just tips. I can understand how that could be less money coming into the pockets of the employees, but we both agree that you go out and there's a place to tip. You tip as fucking fat as you can afford.
Yeah.
And just fucking deal with it. You argue about it afterwards, but go out,
Yeah. But the other side of that is I don't believe any employer should ever have an employee on their staff that's getting paid less than minimum wage, regardless of their position. It's called a minimum wage.
Yes. Yeah.
Because, for example, a person who's a bartender in rural Kansas will never make $200 a shift.
Right.
Ever. Because there's just not money there for that. Person who works in Austin downtown on a weekend can make $1,000 a night if they're hustling because it's a more vibrant bar scene. So the economics just don't make sense across the board for two people who did the same function. They can't possibly make anything equal to each other.
I can understand on
so that the reason you have a minimum wage is so that they can both make at least the minimum wage collectively, regardless of where they're working.
Right.
That's my fight.
Right.
So I think the whole 213 thing is bullshit and should go away.
Yeah.
It's just dumb. Like, pay someone $7.25, $7.50, whatever it is, and just that's the minimum. Pay that. If they make more, great. If they don't, fine. If you as an employer can't afford to have 5 people on staff making minimum wage, you're doing your job wrong. Yeah. Well, as a manager, as a corporation.
Yeah. That's a lot of things to unpack, though. I mean, because the number one. Well, no. I mean, the number one most important thing here is that people should get paid for what they do. They absolutely should be paid for what they do. It is nice. There is a validation, like I mentioned before. There's a validation thing when it comes to receiving tips because you know you're doing a better job that night versus the night before or whatever.
Absolutely,
it doesn't always work that way because some people are just always going to be cocksuckers, just forever.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing to unpack is that the hard part is that what we really should be doing as a country is we should be spending more at restaurants. We should be McDonald's, for example, should be able to afford to pay their people more money. Because we should be spending 50 cents more on cheeseburgers, but that's the biggest problem. So a restaurant like a little tiny bullshit town like Pearland before it was as big as it was, whatever they had Gringos. Gringos should be paying people enough by offsetting how much it costs to have employees. Because, and for me, the biggest problem with that is that you're getting paid $2.13 an hour and you have side work. You're not getting tips for the side work.
Yeah,
the side work is cleaning the restaurant. There are some people who already clean the restaurant, but the rest of it's actually other people cleaning more of the restaurant.
Yeah, the guy who's paid to clean the toilets makes minimum wage.
Right. Well, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like the rest of the core, the lion's share of employees. Yeah. I'm not even talking to you at this point. I'm talking to people who don't know this. Is the lion's share of the people who work there are then tasked with cleaning bathrooms, rolling silverware, cleaning their stations, like doing all the things that they weren't really they didn't do in the first place.
Yeah.
Customers came in and fucked up, and then for maybe an hour or maybe 2 hours, depending on how fucking crazy it is, you're just literally just getting paid $2.13 an hour. So that takes out of your tips, and the employer has no responsibility to pay the $2.13 to the minimum wage to fix. And unless they made nothing that night, then they have to. And then, like I said, they won't pay attention, and the employee never fucking says anything about it.
Which is why I think it's just bad management.
It's just bad management.
But it's also
super cheap slave labor.
We also tapped into a unfortunate key element of how America functions. We don't want to pay more.
Right. Yeah. That's the bad. That's the super bad.
Even though every single one of us will go home after a night and go, I really loved that burger. No, there's the inherent problem with the American idea of especially food.
Yeah.
And
should be cheap and easy to get.
Grocery, maybe not groceries, but restaurant experience in particular. Americans don't want to pay money for that.
Right.
They want to have the best thing ever.
Yeah.
But if it costs too much, I don't want that.
Yep.
It shouldn't cost that much. How hard is it to make a burger?
It takes a long time.
Yeah, but
unless you're going to a fast food place.
I'm making that
exactly,
argument. So you end up people who are like, it's just a burger. They just flip it over. Well, then go home and make it yourself.
Right.
Well, I really want. I like the way that tastes. Well, then pay for it. If you like the way that burger tastes, recognize that takes some skill that you don't possess. You can't make it home.
Right.
Pay for that.
Right.
Don't complain when it costs too much. If it costs too much, then you can't afford it, and that's unfortunate.
Right.
So work harder so you can afford it. Don't make that restaurant have to lower their price or not pay the people who work there to cook it.
Right.
So that you can go, I'll pay $4 for that, but not $5 for that.
Right.
America has a lot of problems when it comes to actually paying for things that have value.
Right.
Especially when it comes to everyday items. We'll pay out the ass for luxury items. Well, let me back that up. will charge out the ass for luxury items.
Yes,
not pay for them
there's,
now.
There's a fine. I mean, there's a bell curve for it too. It's like we want to pay for the cheapest thing ever, and then at certain points, like this isn't worth it. This isn't worth it. This is worth it, and then it's like crazy. Like let's spend $200 for one meal because it's made by a guy who is autistic or something. Whatever crazy fucking artisanal thing that happens. And sometimes that's wonderful. It's wonderful to get the experience, but more often than not, it's the experience you're getting from those people who are not getting paid for that one-on-one, communication or whatever, but we lose that. We lose that in translation because, like you said, we don't want to spend more for a fucking McDonald's cheeseburger, but we can all spend. I think I remember reading something like if they just charged 5 to 6 cents more on their normal cheeseburgers,
like they'd all have healthcare.
That they would all have healthcare or something fucking stupid, Because it's so many fucking people who work for McDonald's.
But then you have the marketing department going, well, we can't have a $1.05 menu. It's a 99-cent menu.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, like, Cokes don't... when I was growing up, Cokes were less than 99 cents. Like a 20-ounce bottle of Coke was less than 99 cents, and they got around that somehow. Now it's $1.50. All right.
Well, actually, that's what they're making all their money.
Make a $2 menu, and that's the cheapest fucking thing. I'm sorry. Let's just do that. Just do it, Because it does make things better, because eventually we're going to run out of fucking jobs. Well, whatever. That's a much bigger conversation. Let's take a break, and we'll come back after this.
The whole point of the platform. Maybe it is time to just turn that Ambien off.
Yeah. Welcome back to the show. Final segment of Contemplating the Show with Travis and Dylan.
Yeah.
I'm still here. There's my beer. Hello. So this is the last segment of the show. This is the time to kind of round things out. Whatever we're thinking about, whatever we missed this week that was interesting.
Oreo peeps.
150 million people lost.
Trump's inauguration.
Lost, yeah. That's how many people were marched for our lives or whatever, right? It really doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. You're going to probably lie a little bit. The MyFitnessPal.
Yes.
There was a data breach of 150 million people, which is not as bad as losing Social Security numbers for sure. Looking at you, Equifax. But goddamn. Shit. And also, Jesus Christ, speaking of data breaches, I mean, Facebook is diving.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Like the whole concept of deleting Facebook is still really super foreign to me, but it's like,
it's hard.
It's hard. Especially when you're trying to run a mega empire like we have, a multimedia empire like Content Pending.
Yeah.
But man, I don't know.
It's weird for me because on one hand, I appreciate the pushback because Facebook has been bad about a lot of things over the years.
Yes.
And yeah.
Full stop. Yeah.
where I struggle a little bit is I'm pretty confident in my ability to use it correctly.
Yeah.
So I don't fall for shit. And I even said to you, I even posted on my Facebook, I'll call them out when there was a thing I had a couple weeks ago where they were posting a thing, we'll make your experience a whole lot better. And they started asking questions that were like credit card security level questions, like, do you like dragons and unicorns? Press yes. What's your favorite sports team? Where's your mother from? And that was actually a Facebook app. No, I will not engage with you because no, I will not.
Yeah. No, you may not.
No, you may not. So I feel confident enough that I know how to use the platform that I can spot that and go, no, that's too far. I'm not going to engage with that.
Right.
I guess maybe because of that, the news I get in my feed usually is pretty solid. It's real news, not fake news. Mm-hmm. It's larger media sources. Occasionally I'll get some opposing views.
Not enough.
Not enough, but the ones that I get, I will at least look at because they're not too far that I don't dismiss them completely. Mm-hmm. I'll engage. So maybe for me, the algorithm does work because I know how to. At least I think I know how to use it correctly.
Yes.
So for me, it's hard to turn that off because I do get a lot of stuff from that. What I don't get actually is a lot of communication with my friends and family. Which is the whole point of the platform. Maybe it is time to just turn that in.
Yeah. Oh, you found it. Yeah, you had your come to Jesus moment. Come to Zuckerberg moment.
We mentioned off air Tim Cook was throwing shade at Zuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was brilliant. It was so beautiful. Please. Yeah, was it something like a interviewer was saying, "Hey, what do you think about Zuckerberg, Facebook, 50 million something, privacy things.
Like, what would you do in this situation?
Yeah, what would you do in this situation? Tim Cook flat out said, I wouldn't be in this situation.
Right. Right.
I like him.
Good job, Cook.
I like Tim Cook. Maybe Apple's kind of failing a lot of things right now, but I like Tim Cook. He's a good guy.
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do about Facebook.
It's hard. No, it's a real debate. Because Facebook...
It's a privilege debate, too. I mean, like, it's one of our biggest concerns. Or whatever.
No, actually, I think it's gone beyond that. Because Twitter, Facebook, the social media in general has gone beyond privilege. It's gone beyond white people who have the ability to get it.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. It's not insulary anymore. Like,
yeah.
it is literally...
So I think it is okay to be very, very critical of these platforms because they're not just for white kids with iPhones.
Sure.
I mean, this is how people talk to each other now.
Right.
Around the globe.
Right. Right.
We saw it a couple years ago in Egypt. Like that's how they overthrew their government through Twitter. I'm sorry, they overthrew the military coup against their government via Twitter.
Yeah. Oh, I just meant a privilege because it's something like it's one of the few things that you and I have any real concerns about in our lives. And Insomnia, we always want to make more money, and can we afford beer?
No, that's why I push back a little bit because it has become
a bigger deal.
It has become the way we communicate.
Sounds privileged.
But it's not. It's not. It's the way people communicate now.
Right.
And I've seen a lot of things in the past couple weeks. Again, I mentioned my man Ari Melber on the beat. My MSNBC, love that guy.
Yeah.
Because he calls out Zuckerberg like once a week, and he does this whole thing where, like I have like a 5-minute soliloquy I'm going to read. Saying, Zuckerberg, are you paying attention? Here's what your company's done this week. Why don't you talk to me about this? Answer these questions, sir.
Yeah.
And he points out facts. Like, so you were in Russia last week. Why don't you go in front of Congress? Which he's now apparently doing. But where I was going with that is they've had a lot of talk on that show, where there's this guy who was one of the co-founders of Facebook years ago. He was like Zuckerberg's mentor, like 20 years older than he was.
Yeah.
And he got out kind of early. I guess maybe IPO and stuff, cashed out, made $1 billion. But now he's been very, very critical of Zuckerberg, saying, yeah, he doesn't listen to the things I advise him to do. So there are some people going, yeah, Facebook. The problem with Facebook is that it worked.
Right. Sure.
And that's why Russians were able to hack it, because it was effective in talking to people.
Yeah.
And so he's made that argument, and then my boy Ari pushed it back and was saying, yeah, the problem isn't that fake news. The problem is the platform does communicate well with people.
Right.
People post fake news, but that's something separate. The problem is your platform is so effective at reaching an audience.
Right.
So it has become a real thing. It's not. I'm sorry. It's not privilege. It is. It's the world now, and this is. It sucks.
Yeah. I mean, it's so obsequious too, is because it's hard to look up and try to find
excellent word. Thank
where you look up and you just you realize I started looking at my apps. I started looking at what I attach my apps to. I don't do that at all really anymore.
Yeah,
there's no reason to anymore, except for when it comes to the single sign-in concept that Facebook is trying to develop.
I refuse.
It's so efficient. It's so simple. But I did it for so long. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at Favor, for example, the app-based delivery service will pick up a thing and bring it to you.
Speaking of privilege, yeah.
Right. But Favor, Japonic, GameStop is not one of them. Basically, any online thing that ever said, "Hey, Facebook logins can work," I'm attached to all of these. If I wanted to get rid of all the apps on my Facebook thing, I was just trying to click some of them out. It'd probably take me 30 minutes just literally trying to delete them because you can only do one a piece.
Yeah.
And you're just going to keep going. And it's
that's curious.
Because it's just been there the whole time.
And that's a really weird
from
thing.
Inside the house.
No, that's a feature I never bought into with Facebook. Whenever there's an option to log in with Facebook through anything, sure. I always refuse. I said, I will form an account with that company directly, but I will not do that through Facebook. So I did not want to have that extra thing where I don't know why I didn't like it. Something about this rubbed me the wrong way.
I understand that, yeah.
And maybe I'm just old enough.
For me, it was just too effective to ignore. But I do. It is, I think, important, especially when we're talking about the app thing at Cambridge Analytica. Yeah. Cambridge Analytica specifically, they are simultaneously an awful, disgusting little company that is definitely attached to some really shady practices.
Uh-huh. But also brilliant.
Well, no. And the other thing was also ineffective because the information that they were saying they were selling, Obama tried to use, wasn't effective. Romney, I think, tried to use it. Trump used it. And really what they were trying to sell was that they can get from these Facebook apps, these very simple personality quizzes, they would be able to get enough of a person's information, their personality, in order to sell them very specific data. When really, like, the most effective thing that we've seen so far is just diversion tactics.
Yeah.
You know? That's it. Like, all of the personalities they pulled wound up not actually doing anything.
I guess that's positive.
Well, that's all. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is like, so it's like they do all these really nasty things, and then this one thing that they were put on the map for didn't do anything at all. You know, it's amazing. And also, again, like, I think it's important. You know, we are liberals, but at the same time, like, Obama used Cambridge Analytica at least for that Facebook thing, but it also
that was also years ago.
Only years, of course, but only to defend Obama. He was also the first president to try to be online. He was the first one to do the YouTube speaks, use Twitter effectively. You know, like I said previously, you know, it's like Obama's the first of our presidents to use Twitter effectively, and Trump was the first one to weaponize it. And, you know, and that works. It works. I mean, there are things that work and things that don't work. But that might be a longer conversation for a different time because we're running out of time. Is there anything else that we missed this week that you want to talk about?
No, but we had some good topics today.
Yeah.
And again, if you guys have opinions that differ from ours,
802.
we would love to hear from you.
802-359-7468. Very, very easy. You can go to Facebook, too. I'm going to post all the articles that we're talking about this week on the Facebook, just so you can see, you know, just if you're missing this or whatever, come listen to the podcast. Come listen to the other podcasts, especially because we're talking about hot dogs and ravioli.
And we always cite our sources.
And we cite our sources, you know.
The only podcast that probably does.
Yeah, or like actually, because again, if you don't have to, if it's stupid and it works.
Kardashian.
But yeah, so that's basically the end of the show. Dylan, thanks for helping me run it.
Yeah, pleasure.
And I'm Travis. If you want to know more about the show, you can go to contentpending.com. It's contentpending.com. You can find us on Facebook at Content Pending the Show, all one word, at Content Pending on Twitter. We are contentpending.com on Instagram. It's DOTCOM, all one word. Because someone else had content pending already, so I don't know why. You can find us all of their questions at contentpending.com is an option. You can also 802-359-7468 or 802-359-SHOT. That's a shot line where you can leave a voicemail or text us, and you can let us know what your opinions on this episode or anything else, or just opinions in general, and we'll talk about anything you like. I mean, within reason, there's certain topics that we'll just have to ignore, but at least we'll play your thing to discourage other people by, you know, trying to humiliate you. If you want to talk about flat Earth, that's a thing too. We didn't talk about the flat Earth thing. It's unfortunate. That's one last thing, is that because we did cover on the Content Pending page that the guy who was building his own rocket, the engineer, quote unquote, was building his own rocket just so we can get out to the outer atmosphere, so we can prove that the Earth is not flat.
I at least give him credit for having enough scientific thought to go, if I can fly high enough.
Yeah. My problem with that, though, is the guy didn't understand his own community. So the idea was that he was going to build a rocket that was going to go out to the outer atmosphere, just so we can prove that the Earth is actually flat, so we can actually see it.
Yeah.
But the problem is that if he gets up there and he sees it's round, the rest of the community will say, "Well, you're a shill." Like, that's it. That's the problem.
Yeah, but at least I still appreciate that one guy.
Yeah, of course,
tried.
he tried. But the funny thing is, he didn't actually get that far or that high. So
1,800 feet.
Later on, he said, "Well, I wasn't actually trying to prove that the Earth wasn't flat. I was just or that the Earth was flat. I was just trying to get the word out." So it turned into a Red Bull style stunt. It's like, look, Red Bull already did it, and they proved that the Earth was round. So fuck you.
Yeah,
also,
the
fuck
dude
you.
jumped out of a balloon from the Red Bull balloon.
Yes, yeah. Using GoPros. Well, GoPros add some curvature to the Earth. Fuck your mouth. It's the end of the show. Most people are probably listening to this part anyway, so I could be as crude as I want. But seriously, just fuck your mouth. If you want to talk about the fucking flat Earth thing, like, I'll literally just invite you to come on the show and argue about it, because time zones! You can't figure out time zones. Anyway, I love you very much. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the show. I'm Travis, and we'll see you next week. Bye.